everybody. Thanks for waking up and shining on with us today. You got Shantastic Shine here with Selomon.
Hey.
We're coming live from the Mountain Shine Studios, and we're just really excited to share this episode with you today. We have an amazing spiritual guide joining us for part of our interview, and we cover a lot of really inspirational and motivational topics.
Yeah. Throughout the interview, she does end up dropping out, but we did get some really good information in the interview while we were talking to her, like what is happening with the shift on the planet right now. She talks about repairing stargates and how she repairs that. She also talks about, the ability that she has to open space for multi-dimensional energy.
Yeah, and it leads us into a pretty awesome conversation about what's just happening with the world and how different industries are using these powers to also kind of introduce them to the community at large.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just really grateful, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We're just going to play the intro, and we'll be back right after that.
Stay tuned. For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Welcome to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of that, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Awakening humanity to spirituality and higher consciousness.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for waking up and shining on with us here at Project Bring Me to Life.
Bam.
Today we have an awesome interview, and we're just really excited to share this information with you.
Yeah, so we have with us today Saralise. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
We're doing great as well. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm.
For our audience who may not know much about you, could you please tell everybody who you are, where you come from, and what your purpose is?
Whew. All right. Well,
I'd like to start it off.
That's a loaded question.
Bam. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, my name is Saralise Antara Nada Azrael, and I am the founder and executive director of Legion of Light Global Ministries, which I established in 2009. Excuse me for my voice. I'm sorry. I didn't realize my voice would be doing this, but that's okay. I've just been at a festival and worked all weekend, so I'm a bit on the recovery end of that.
That happens.
So
Yeah, for sure.
it happens for sure. So yeah, I created this ministry as an outreach ministry to do service work for the planet, and I created the Sacred Village Project also in 2009, which is designing and co-creating eco-sustainable sacred cities of light in a sacred geometrical grid all over the planet. And I had received this download when I was about 4 years old. And so when I recalled all this information, I had sort of a life change happen, if you will, and realized that I could no longer work in mainstream society, that my mission was far too important for me to continue to just dwindle away in the conversation of everyday life. And I started to really dive deep into my mission and what it was and what it means to be on this planet and why am I here. And what I discovered is that, we all came here for a very specific reason, and the depths of which the codes in our DNA that we carry are extremely important, and if not activated, they won't serve us. So I started, really studying the DNA, and I had been studying alternative medicine and things for many, many years. And I'm a doctor of vibrational medicine, so I've worked really, really hard to find the best and information that I can find that's out there, and to also receive a lot of information with regards to this shift that we're going through on the planet, and how can I be of maximum service in that regard. So that's what I've been up to, and that includes the repairing of stargates and vortexes, and clearing negative reversal grids and things that have been sort of holding us in a container that doesn't actually serve the highest and best good of everyone. And so, how can we go about moving forward and bringing it into right relations with everyone, every being on this planet and beyond, and making a point of really being present to what is needed and what needs to shift. And I remain in a sort of a mode of listening all the time, and listening and observing and just watching. And a lot of times I get downloads and receive information, and I act upon it based on that. So that's kind of how I operate as well. So that means I don't really have a job in the real world, and yet I have a real job that occupies my entire existence. And so I'm very much in it and do my best to show up for it to the best of my ability every single day. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of weird. Society's a little weird with what they consider to be a job and what they don't consider to be a job.
It drives me crazy.
Drives all of us crazy.
It's like, what is considered a job? I'm doing all these great things that take up a lot of time, effort, and energy, but the real world doesn't like to consider that a job. And I think it's really important as light workers to remind ourselves that our job is much different than what quote unquote normal, whatever that is, people think is a normal job. So you mentioned repairing stargates. How does one repair a stargate?
That's a really good question. So the way that I have gone about it, there's a lot of people working on the energetic grids of the planet. And for me, it started with me activating my DNA and the source codes in my DNA, and being able to utilize the codes of light in my DNA during ceremony and moving energy through a space to be able to clear that which is not serving the highest and best good in that particular space, physical space. So in 2012, I opened the portal of the Portland Priestess Portal, which became the Priestess Portal Pilgrimage, which is essentially a pilgrimage that began then and is continuing and has been continuing until we're complete. But we're in a stellar activation cycle from 2000 to 2017. So we're in this window of time, which is actually available to us to be able to repair stargates that were damaged hundreds of thousands of years ago. And so I became privy to this information and felt really strongly called to participate in repairing the stargates. And for me, it was part of my soul's history. Like, I had something to do with the damage of the Stargate in Kauai, which is the 12th Stargate, which operates, or, activates all the other Stargates. So the first Stargate had to be the last Stargate, basically, that needed to be repaired. So in 2012, on the winter solstice, we came full circle, basically, and went to the Stargate in Kauai, in Cloud Forest, in the Kalalau Valley, which is sort of the yoni of Mother Earth, the birthplace where Gaia receives souls to bring onto the planet. And so we went there, and we brought a group of people. I brought 17 people for 12 days to Kauai, and we hiked in the middle of the night, and went on this 6-foot wide cliff, basically, that's 3,000 foot drop on either side. in the clouds, and we went and pitched a tent and sat there and opened the 4 directions and called in all the benevolent forces that would be there to support this. And we did a galactic Earth peace treaty, and we repaired the Stargate by coming into right relations with our galactic brothers and sisters, and also with Gaia, and with whatever had happened during that time when the damage was done. So it's basically like this. The universe is always seeking to balance the charges, right? So it's like whenever there's a charge somewhere or something is quote unquote broken, it's really that it needs to come back into balance, come back into right relations. So we go through that process, whatever that is, in that ceremony, to find where those pieces are that are out of alignment, and then we bring them back into alignment, and we clear whatever is not, meant to be there. So we went through that process, and it's energetic predominantly. So I have the ability to, me personally, to hold a container and to open a container that allows for multidimensional activity. And so through ceremony, I move energy, and the people that are there obviously contribute to that as well, and they have their own level of, their own skill set. And so it's very much like a soul thing. Like if you're called to do it, you will feel called to go and do the next piece or whatever. Like if you feel called to a certain location, there's a reason why you're called to that location. Like spirit is calling you into that space to do something, to be present to something, to bring your light, to bring your codes of it from your DNA and your codes of light into that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely have experienced moments where, I was drawn to the mountains, didn't really know why, but went there and had some really intense experiences, and then was, just continued to activate and do all that stuff. So that's something that I completely understand.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a really special experience for sure, in terms of how it plays itself out, and it's always very personal, even though you would think it wouldn't be. It's actually very personal to your soul and your journey and why you're here on this planet and what the purpose of that is, right? And so there are some of us who have been that have that responsibility or have been appointed to that service. And it's not everybody, but there are very specific people that feel that they are a grid worker, that they go and they move energy in certain places and things of that nature.
Right. So
so that's just my sort of spoke of the wheel, And so I'm listening deeply to that and moving through the planet in the pilgrimage sort of way right now, on tour for 4 months, and headed over to Europe and the UK to do some like really intense work over there. And with everything that's going on right now on the planet and all the levels of unrest that are present, now is the time. Like I'm literally going into the fire, and like this would be the polar opposite time for me to go there. Like as a normal human being, like why would you go there? And it's like, no, Saralise is going there for a reason. Just let her go, just let her go do what she's got to do. You know what I mean? Because that's when I go. I go when things are in that state a lot of times, or I'll go remote. I'll do a lot of remote work, and I'll try to settle the energies or move it into a better space, or so I do a lot of work remotely. So I don't necessarily have to be there physically, but for this one, I definitely do.
Yeah.
For this next level of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening recently with all the ISIS stuff and all the suicide bombers and stuff like that. Is that something that you're like going to go work on while you're in the UK?
I can't really speak to what I'm going to do exactly, because that would reveal. So me publicly announcing it prior to it would not serve the highest and best good of the situation. So I can't speak to exactly what I'm doing, but yes.
Okay. Cool.
If that makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes things need to happen and play out before they are revealed. Just in general, though, I think what Sela is talking about is there's a huge shift on the planet, and grid workers and energy workers such as yourself and many other members of the Project Bring Me to Life tribe have really been working hard on trying to shift the energy to a more positive state. And it seems like there's this light and dark energy kind of bouncing against each other, and we've been seeing a lot of it, especially in the U.S. with the current the voting and different things for the presidential race and stuff like that, but as well as just anytime you turn on the news, which is an icky thing to do these days, it's full of such negativity and, like Sue said, bombings and all this destruction. What do we do as grid workers, even grid workers who are just finding their path as a grid worker or a light worker or anything like that, to really help the situation? Do you have any advice for anyone that's trying to help raise the vibration?
I mean, I wouldn't say I have advice, but I can share my experience of what I do and what I love to share and hold space for, which is to whenever there's a false flag event or a tragedy or a trauma that takes place in a specific area, I will go remotely and review the scenario, the scene, and I will call in. So here's the thing, though. It's dangerous to do what I'm doing. Let's just say that right now. Because there are, I wouldn't say forces, but there are agendas in place that here's the thing. Spirit has an agenda too, right? So it's like everything, I'm not battling the dark forces, you know what I mean? But what I am doing is, when something happens, I need to go in on some levels and repair the damage sometimes, you know, and they get upset. They're not happy about it. But I also, do my best to take care of as much of it as I can energetically, but I'm working a lot remotely. So if you're a grid worker and you feel called to a certain particular area, you could go into meditation and sort of view the planet and see where the energy is spiking. And as you look at the planet and you see where the energy is spiking, you can tune into those energies and say, okay, what's going on here? What does it need, you know, and allow Spirit to guide you and show you what exactly it is that is needed in that particular area. And then you can contribute universal life force energy to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. That helps a lot. And I'm glad that you explained what you meant by remotely for some of our newer viewers. And I feel like they can do that a lot. Another term I've heard a lot is like astral travel, and using it in dreams to kind of lucidly travel to the space and like meditation, like you said, and to just examine what's going on and put it. And it is dangerous to kind of put yourself even energetically into that space. So make sure. So
that's why I said not that I wouldn't astrally travel there personally. I would.
Right. Stay grounded and like
people actually that are grid workers actually have the ability to remote view, right? So that they're actually not physically or energetically having their energy there, but they're allowing source energy to move through the space, and they're not personally putting themselves in any sort of harm. But the other thing that I do, which is an important piece, I think, I wouldn't say to protect yourself, but to just be neutral, is I cast a circle of white light around myself 3 times clockwise and create a tube of light, and then I create a rainbow sphere of light around that, so that sort of like a blending cloak. It sort of just gives me that sort of bubble, so that when I do go out and I'm looking and stuff, that I'm not calling a lot of attention to myself, if you will. So that it's just like, I'm like, doo-doo-doo, you know, because our energies are powerful, you know, and when we show up in our brightness, it's like, ooh, bugs to the light bulb. It's like, you know, they latch on to us and go, ooh, I want some of that, you know. And also, whatever forces are not wanting this to happen, they're not exactly friendly. So it's good to just remember that and to keep ourselves shielded and grounded and like grounded to Gaia and have, our grounding cords in place and have our connection to the cosmic source. So we're taken care of, That's what makes it fun.
The remote viewing that you were talking about earlier, it's right when you said that, just like not going there energetically, but just kind of like seeing what's happening there. It's something that that happens on a show that we've been watching recently called The Flash. There's there's a character called Cisco, and he calls it vibing, and so he'll like get these vibes, and it will take him to like a location that he can see what's going on. Yeah.
Anything you just said. I didn't hear anything
Can you
he
hear
just
us now,
said. Would you
sweetheart?
like to I didn't hear anything he just said. Can
He
you
was
repeat
just
that?
talking about this show that we've been watching and how one of the characters does remote viewing, but he calls it vibing. So when he gets a vibe of a situation, he can just see it. And actually in the show, it's the Flash. Like you said, he doesn't know how to protect himself quite yet from it. So when he goes to the vibe, or he's like remote viewing the situation, there's certain characters who happen to be the dark energy characters, kind of like you said, they can sense when he's there, and it's because he's not shielding himself properly. So it's interesting how the entertainment world is using these same energies or the same process in the show. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, goodness.
Oh, it looks like we have. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties. It seems like some of the topics we were talking about maybe a little controversial or something got in the way.
Frustrating, the energies at hand. But yeah, just in general to wrap up what we were talking about. Saralise mentioned this whole remote viewing, and Silo and I were both talking about how watching certain shows, there are characters that have these energies. And just personally, I think it's really interesting how the entertainment industry is really using superpowers and energetic forces to play out in these characters and shows that they know a lot of people will watch, specifically Lightworkers, because not many of us seem to watch as much television and like mainstream shows, but there are these shows with slight mysticism and magic and superpowers that seem to just intrigue us.
Right.
And
very correspondent with what is actually happening too, some of them.
Yeah, Star Trek and like Harry Potter, The Flash, like all of these different shows, they're using these powers. And it's intriguing to me because some of the well, let's just use a Harry Potter term here. Some muggles who don't wish to believe in magic, though everyone can access it, they kind of shrug it off and they're like, oh, this is this mythical world. When really the human race has this ability to really tap into the energetic grid and to look upon what's happening elsewhere and to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And you can also protect yourself while you're doing this remote viewing in access that power and just try to send out positivity wherever you feel it's needed, and to help one another. And if you get a vibe about something, share it. And it's up to the people around you to whether they want to take that into consideration or not. But it is important to really share those vibes and intuition with your tribe, I think, is what the universe is really saying right now, and to reach out to each other and show caring and love and compassion wherever it can be done.
I totally agree with that. And I wanted to add onto when you were talking about the shows. I don't recommend anybody watch like the actual television because of all the ads and
subliminal messaging.
Right. The ads and commercials. Most of that is just pretty much like brainwashing, trying to get you to buy stuff that you may not need or want. So I would just recommend try to find something on Netflix or something like that where it doesn't have any of those commercials, because those will take away from something like The Flash, which I love. The Flash, it's like a really good show, and it talks a lot about time, how people could go back in time, forward in time, stuff like that, how it's non-linear. They talk about metaphysics and a lot of really cool stuff. So there are shows out there that are like trying to present the truth of what is happening in the world, because I think that even the powers that be have a contract to tell the truth about all this stuff, and maybe they just do it through television and shows, because we're really into that right now in society.
Yeah, I've always had this theory, which could be good or bad, really, but if they can create it in the entertainment industry, it's likely already created somewhere else in the universe. Like, if you can make the special effects to make that happen, someone somewhere can actually do those things, or
Right.
has done those things.
Right. That's I forget what it's called, but I think it's something that we're like maybe the Murphy's Law, where anything that can happen will happen. Like, every reality exists, every experience exists, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm really kind of sad we lost Miss Saralise today, and we're definitely going to get her back on board and interview her a little bit more in depth in what she does. But I think that we left off with a good episode and some useful information for our listeners. So if you guys have any questions about remote viewing, or you do want to contact Miss Saralise, we'll have some information on her on our website.
Yeah.
And definitely feel free to reach out to her. She loves to talk to the community, and she attends many festivals. One festival that we met her at actually was 3DL, 3 Days of Light, where she hosts workshops such as Into the Void, and she also performed a marriage ceremony and some other really awesome, amazing things for the community at large. So check out Saralise on our website, projectbringmetolife.com, and you can also find us and more information on Facebook and Twitter. You can listen and download all of our episodes from Spreaker and iTunes, and we're just really grateful that you took the time to join us today.
Yeah. Also, if you wanted to learn more about Saralise, she does have a website, and it's called priestessportal.wordpress.com. priestess portal.wordpress.com.
Beautiful. So yeah, and then did you have anything else you wanted to share today, Selomon?
I just wanted to say that I'm very honored to be here with everybody, and I hope all of you are, no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what you're feeling, I think it's important that we just are grateful by sending gratitude to all of our experiences, all of our feelings. By sending gratitude to that, we're able to, move past it and move into something that is more beneficial for us in the current moment.
So true. So true.
That's all I got. Love you guys so much. Thanks for waking up and shining on with us here in Shine Time Studios.
Shine on. Thanks for shining on with us.